Well, hello and welcome to the Zwift Power Up Cycling Podcast. I'm Matt Rowe and this is episode 44. We've got Kristen Armstrong joining us today. Hey, Kristen.
Hey, how's it going? It's good to be back.
Yeah, what's been keeping you busy recently?
Yeah, it's winter in Boise, so I've been doing a lot of training indoors. I don't even know why I called it training. I don't think I actually train anymore. I've been working out indoors. Yeah, I've been doing a few of the Tour de Zwift stages, and those whip you into shape pretty quickly. No question.
Yeah, so same here. Pretty similar agenda, really. Cold, dark outside, plenty of Zwifting. But yeah, feeling relatively fit. And Coach Hendy, how are you, mate?
All good, mate. Good morning from sunny Australia. I'm actually at the Tour Down Under. So enjoy your cold, dark weather. And I've just been outside lapping up some sunshine.
How are the team gelling? First race together?
No, it's actually really good. We've got off on the right foot. They're riding well together as a team, which is one of our major objectives, is just to get to see them riding together in the peloton, getting that respect that you need to have to carry on through the whole season. But no, I've been enjoying it. So it's called Israel Startup Nation now, and that's their World Tour team. So obviously their first World Tour race, and no, it's going well. We got close to the podium yesterday with Andre Greipel. He finished fourth in the sprint, so last chance today. So hopefully we can step on the podium. Kind
Good luck. Well, getting into the episode then, on the esports side of things, the Pro-Am Tour de Zwift series is in full swing. We'll kind of talk a bit more about that later with our guest James Phillips. But Kristen, Show-Air 2020 on the women's side of things are really pushing their esports agenda.
Yeah, I think that in cycling, we're always looking for a different way or a different platform in order to talk about our sport. We love our sport. We want to focus on new, different platforms to get it out to the world, especially, with women cycling and trying to increase the participation with women. So one of the things that we've been looking at with Nicola Cranmer, the owner of 2020, is getting on Twitch. And so she has a team that has been competing on Zwift in all of the races. And now thinking about all of the different feedback she's received and all of the different following and all of the different fan base, she's looking at new platforms to grow the fan base. And why not try to grow it on the largest gamer platform across the world, which is Twitch? There's some other ones. There's obviously the YouTube, and there's also Mixer out there. And so there's a lot of opportunity, but really humanizing those that you're watching that are in the game. And so if you think about somebody racing on Zwift, but you actually see myself sweating and seeing that humanistic part and getting to know that person, it is very attractive to so many. And it is working in the typical gaming world. So why not give it a go on the Zwift platform with a women's cycling team? I think it's a great opportunity, and it will be great to see how that launches.
Yeah, definitely. Just to connecting with the fan base. It's probably something we should try and do for the podcast. Try and do some more. You're doing the rides, Kristen, with Danny and stuff, but perhaps we should have some sort of podcast initiative on Zwift where we live stream and do some fun stuff. I mean, Greg, you did commit to doing Everesting, didn't you, before Christmas? And you're probably in a merry mood back before Christmas, but
yeah, but I don't know if we met the goal. Wasn't there a like goal? Hey, so I just got a quick question regarding that. So why doesn't everybody just stream on YouTube? Or why do we go to Twitch and why do we go to these other, what's the deal there?
Well, there's different platforms for different interests. It just happens to be just like, everything. Some people use Instagram. People like us who were in cycling 10 years ago, we still use Twitter, Facebook. And so it's also very much the like-minded. And it happens to be that Twitch is the top platform for gamification and gamers. That's where they are, and that's where they watch each other play top games. And so obviously with Zwift being gamification and gaming software, why not try to introduce something very different on this gaming platform? It just is introducing a new fan base. Now, when it comes to YouTube, That's huge as well. And I think that there's opportunity really whichever platform you do use. It's just that Twitch was just one that Nicola and had discussed and thought it would be a good opportunity to give it a go.
I think you can push it out to YouTube also, can't you? So like while you are streaming on Twitch, you can actually send the feed out to a YouTube channel. Also, I'm just thinking for plain and simply the general average Joe public that just search it up. They're going to go to YouTube, aren't they? They're not going to know a gamification streaming channel like Twitch.
No, I think the point is trying to get gamers to potentially be intrigued by Zwift through activity and possibly converting some of those gamers actually over, still having gaming, but at the same time being active while you're doing so.
Yeah, cool.
And Tor Undergrad, Canyon SRAM Zwift Academy's prodigy, Jess Spratt, who won this year. She's killing it.
Yeah, mate. What a fantastic little rider. I mean, we probably knew that anyway. If you're going to win that academy competition, you're going to be a pretty top class rider, aren't you? And you can just tell the way she races. She's the complete package. She can climb a little bit. She can sprint a little bit. She's absolutely motivated every single stage, just riding herself into the ground, which is great to see. She finished 9th overall, which is a great result for her first ever professional race. No, she was killing it every day, and she was represented. The other thing is, I've noticed in the peloton, she's very, very well liked. She's very friendly. She's very approachable. No, it's like I said, if you win that academy, you're the complete package as a bike rider, on and off the bike, and no, it was great to see. And it was fantastic actually to see Ruth Winder win. That's my old teammate back in 2017. So she moved across to Trek Segafredo, and really good win against the Aussies. To come out here, and the Aussies are always flying. They just finished their nationals, which Amanda Spratt won. So yeah, it was impressive.
No, the Aussie nationals, are they on the same course every year? I know they were for a while. Has that changed now?
Every year, mate. Every single year. But I heard in 2 years' time, they're actually going to finish on top of the hill. So, because Richie didn't even ride it this year, Richie Port. And Mitchelton this year, they had to win the jersey. They messed it up last year. And, they just had numbers, and they convincingly won the women and men's race this year just by numbers, just by having absolute dominant numbers. Okay, and strong riders, don't get me wrong.
Yeah, of course.
But we just need more other pros to have a crack. So I think in a couple of years' time it might, even though it's like the other thing I often wonder is, they've got good sprinters. Like, what do they not want to see the Aussie jersey in the bunch sprints banging handlebars with the best in the world? Like, because it's just too hard a course for the sprinters.
I just think like the world's course is different every year. That's how the national should be. That's certainly how it is in the UK. You give everyone throughout their career a chance.
I totally agree, mate. Yeah, 100%.
I think in the US it changes every 2 to 3 years. It's all really based off of the cities and those bidding out for the national championship, and it's very expensive. And so we've had it where sometimes there's cities that just keep on pouring in the dollars, and USC Cycling has no other choice but to be like, okay, this is easy for us. So it's tough to support road closures and such.
Well, some of you may have seen on 15th of Jan, there was an article doing the rounds on social media highlighting the volume of bike riding done by some of the pros. Egan Bernal and Annemiek van Vleuten topped the leaderboard for the most training Ks clocked up on Strava, and this was according to VeloFacts. As of the 15th of Jan, Egan Bernal had ridden 2,638 kilometres in 16 rides, which is an average of 164 kilometres per ride, so over 100 miles a day or per ride, and that's at altitude too, back home in his native Colombia. And that included a mammoth 209 kilometre ride, which is big, perhaps not massive, but it's certainly big for a pro. And it went viral on Twitter. But probably more impressively for me, Van Vleuten was only 2 kilometres behind Egan Bernal, riding 2,636 kilometres, and then Richie Port was slightly behind that again. So just gives you an idea as to the volume of cycling these pros are doing early season, and obviously not all pros are on Strava. and not every ride is guaranteed to be uploaded. However, as it's all automated these days, you've got syncing from your Garmin or whatever device you use, so it's fairly reasonable to expect the distances ridden are a true reflection of those on the list. So yeah, just big Ks clocked up in the first couple of weeks of Jan.
Mate, we were sitting at the coffee shop during one of our recon rides here at the tour, and they brought up on Strava Egan Burnell's, his kilometres that he'd done, and then the first thing Rick Zabel says, like, yeah, but who does that many kilometres? And I was like, he won the Tour de France, mate. That's probably what you have to do. And he goes, oh, yeah, no, very good. And he goes, I think my dad's still doing that sort of kilometres at the moment. Eric Zabel was just so famous for just doing. I mean, he did 1 year. Rick was telling us 1 year he had 48,000 kilometres for the year. So if of 52 weeks, he was almost doing 1,000k weeks for a whole year.
What a savage!
That's impressive, eh? That's impressive. Yeah. That's amazing, the miles they do, isn't it? I mean, it just, like you said, it just shows the volume that goes into being the best.
Yeah, I used to always say that if women raced the distances that men did, because there was a time, still happening where, there's, it always comes and goes, but, there will be a lot of women cyclists out there that will want to have equal distance to the men and have 3-week tours and yada yada. And I was like, wow, I would have never done the sport because being on my bike that long I have no interest. And so it's interesting how, to me, it completely changes the whole game. I think that when I am out racing for 3 to 4 hours, those are the hardest races I've ever done. The minute races, and I think even for men, the minute races get up to that 6-hour mark, it's just physically impossible to race the entire time. And so I find it a lot more interesting even when the men race shorter races. I think it's a lot more fun to watch.
Yeah, that's been a topic for sure, hasn't it? And even as a pro rider, we used to say, make these 140 to 150k races, it's all you need. Like, it's you get the same result, and it's just over and done with quicker, it's more attacking. But I think also on the other side of things, you have to think about maybe, let's say the Tour de France, where you've got one city sponsoring and the next city, and you have to get there. So I think it's a lot of it's for that reason. Let's get from point A to point B. But you did right. Like, the first hour's crazy in a race normally, and these long ones, and then once the break's established, you settle in, you might settle in for 3 hours of just sort of riding, and then it's maybe only the last hour and a half, 2 hours that it really starts to crank up again. But
even from a kind of a rider's well-being point of view, cycling arguably one of the hardest sports in the world, what a pro bike rider goes through is savage all season long. The amount of competition days a pro bike rider does, outrageous. So I think, there's so many reasons for, and I don't know many, if any, current pro men riders who enjoy the super long distances. I think they'd all be welcome in, chop them by an hour, chop them by 50k or something.
I don't know about you all, but I know that after being in the sport for, I got in the sport in 2003 was my first pro contract, so quite a few years, and so during the time until my final years, it was what it was. I woke up, I did what I did, and felt fine. And so now it's not until now that I'm retired that I'm feeling, it's kind of like when your parents tell you, hey, honey, you need to wear sunscreen when you're in your teens. You're like, yeah, right, Mom. Why do I need sunscreen? And then you get older and you're like, oh, yeah, I probably needed to wear more sunscreen. It's the same thing it's now that I'm feeling my body from all the years and all the miles. So you can't tell anyone because nobody could tell me, but it definitely does catch up. You just wake up feeling a little different than maybe if you didn't race your bike for 12 years. So
I'm just glad I wasn't a NFL lineman. I've obviously got the physique for it, but I decided to go down the cycling avenue. But imagine trying to get out of bed after having more hits than Elvis on the playing field.
That is a good point. I like that.
Yeah.
That's good.
That's another topic for another day, kind of comparing sports, compare and contrast. Probably be good to talk about at some point. We've got a little shout out as well for Welsh rider Will Roberts. So Will competed at the London 6 Day in the under 23 competition and won the Zwift race. On the weekend, he got a silver medal in the British Track Championships in the points race. So Yeah, top ride there from Will. So congratulations. So as the feature chat in today's pod, I caught up with James Phillips, a driving instructor by day, Zwift weapon by night. So here he is. Right, here for a chat today with James Phillips. I'm going to call you a professional Zwift racer. Is that term you like to go by?
Well, maybe semi-professional.
Semi-professional.
Sort of say.
Yeah, and you're riding for Canyon ZCC?
Yeah, that's
team?
right. Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah. And what's the ZCC part?
Canyon. Oh, now you got me.
Zwift cycling?
Yeah, Zwift Cycling Club. I would have.
Fair enough.
Yeah, that's it.
All right. Well, thanks for joining as well.
That's all right.
Appreciate the time. So for our listeners, just tell us a bit about yourself, who you are.
Well, my name's James Phillips. I'm 35, family man, 2 kids, 6 and 3, Zachary and Oliver. And my previous sport was badminton. I went to 2 Commonwealth Games. My highest world rank was 41, 4-time national badminton champion. And I think it was after the last Commonwealth Games in Delhi 2010 where I decided to change sports and give cycling a go, if you like. It wasn't quite like that. I didn't quite intend for it to take off as to where it is now. But just one thing led to another, and I always had that that fitness background, and badminton's such an explosive sport that it was just a case of getting the miles in my legs initially. Last year I was Welsh national champion on the road, and I picked up 2 national titles this year, one being the Zwift national champs and the other over 35 national masters crit champs. So
awesome.
Yeah, so it's all good.
Good. And talking about Zwift, how and when did you get into Zwift? When did you discover it?
It was 3 years ago, 2 to 3 years ago. It was just with the kids, really, very difficult to get any sort of training in, young family.
Yeah.
To be honest, without Zwift and that turbo train, I would not be on my bike now. It's as simple as that. Like, it's just a fantastic tool to, get an intense workout in.
Yeah.
And, I'm only doing about 8 to 10 hours a week, but, that's enough for me to be competitive out in the road, in real life racing. Yeah, anything up to 60 miles, I know I can compete with some of the top guys out there.
Yeah.
But 60 miles plus is a different kettle of
It
fish.
It's very different kettle of fish, isn't it? Yeah. And how do you mix in real life racing and Zwift racing? What's your kind of priority? Where'd your heart lie?
I'm 50-50 really. Yeah, I enjoy both really. I enjoy the Zwift racing.
Yeah.
Just as much as the in real life racing really. That's pretty much it really. Same tactics involved. It's great social as well. I'm always on Discord chatting with the boys.
Yeah.
If it's a race or a training.
Yeah.
Exactly the same as in real life.
Yeah.
And we're working together as a team to get the end result with one of the teammates winning the race at the end of the day.
So within your Zwift team, Canyon, there's a true team element. You're not just a couple of individuals that happen to wear the same jersey.
Yeah, no. Yeah, I think we've been handpicked, especially as to what our strengths are.
Right.
So I'm not quite as good as some of the other boys when it comes to the climbing races, being a little bit heavier. But I've got a decent sprint on me.
Yeah.
So and
I was looking at your Zwift power, 5 second. I can't remember. It's 1500 and
yeah, it's probably about that. Yeah,
it's big watts.
Maybe 1400.
1400,
like that. Yeah. So so that's good. But I know I'm pushing out the same numbers on the road too.
Yep.
Zwift's more of a bit more like a time trial effort with a sprint at the end.
Yeah.
And you've got to have good short power. I think in real life racing there's potentially a little bit more rest in the wheels, if you like. I
would look at the power profiles of an in real life race, and you get sometimes you're doing 0 watts.
Yeah.
There's not many times on Zwift you can do 0 watts. So you're a couple of seconds out the back.
Yeah, that's it. You're constantly on the pedals, aren't you?
Exactly.
Yeah, that's it. Otherwise you're dropped. So
yeah, exactly. So you're the sprinter in the team?
Yeah, so myself and Steve Young are probably classed as the sprinters.
Steve the Python, he calls himself.
That's it, yeah. And then the other lads are, they're excellent climbers. They've been, they're extremely good climbers, and they can also sprint too.
Yeah.
So, so it's a nice hand pick team, if you like, of some climbers and some sprinters and some all-rounders, you know. And yeah, we got, you know, great chemistry amongst the team, and you know, we all get on really well, and depending on what race it will be will depend on how we play it out and who we might ride for, you know.
Yeah, sure. And just give us an insight into riding for someone. I think for a lot of people it would be harder to get their head around how that plays out on Zwift. Yeah. It's fairly straightforward in real life how things work out.
Yeah. So, it's pretty much the same, to be honest. Like we, one of the races, one of the Zwift Classics gone a couple of months ago, one of the big sprint, it was the Yorkshire course, so it was up and down. But one of the big sprinters was distanced on the last climb. So one of our teammates just went to the front and just drilled it.
Nice.
Make sure he didn't get back.
Yeah.
So
who spotted that then? You got a lot of eyes there.
Yeah, that's right.
Someone spotted.
We've got our DS. Reese Howells, you know, he's obviously chatting to us on Discord as well. I can't remember who spotted it at the time. You know, we're all pretty clued up as to what's going on, and you know, if there's a gap behind, look, and the moment someone sees, look, one of the big boys is a couple of seconds off. Right, here we go. Now, come on, let's push it down, because you know, it's really hard to close that gap if you're even a couple of seconds off the back. You know, it takes a big effort to get that back. You know? So
definitely. And your biggest accomplishment on Zwift?
Well, it would have to be the Zwift National finals. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to it this time round. Last year, you know, I was injured. I broke my leg. It was end of November, December time. You know, it was 2 months off the bike. I couldn't even sprint until end of January, and the finals were sort of end of March. So just to get myself, you know, in a state where I was competitive, really, was you know, a good achievement. I just put that down to this type of training I did in the lead up to that event, you know, and just tried to arrive there in the best shape I could, really. But so that would have to be one of my biggest accomplishments. You know, I've also had the opportunity to race in Canada, in Vancouver. Again, my lead up to that event wasn't great. I had a nasty crash in real life in the Welsh Crit Champs a month before, where I broke some ribs and a nice little scar at the top of my head.
You know, I remember that crash because I was in the same crash.
Oh yeah, that's right.
That was it. I remember seeing you after the finish. And you kind of walking around. I remember the whack on your head. Your head just swelled up.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
that was a hell of a whack.
I took that corner a bit too fast. I remember that well. I was a bit
your fault, was it?
Yeah, it was. I went off the front, drilled it, and that swooping bend, and just
off camber.
Just too confident. Look, just took it too fast, and next thing there's a barrier in the way. And so Laura wasn't too happy with that, and spent the evening in A&E up in Aberystwyth. But there we are. These things happened, and
exactly.
You know, touch wood. 5 years before that, you know, I haven't crashed. Just so happened that last year I had 2 bad crashes in 1 year. You know, that's just the way it goes. A
lot of people, I think of Zwift as being a safe option. It's a big positive of Zwift. Cars and safety wise. You've got kids.
Exactly.
Kids.
That's one of the benefits, isn't it? You know, there's no risks of you crashing at all, you know. Only flipping last weekend, I slipped on the ice, you know. Should have stayed in and sat on Zwift.
Yeah, exactly. Well, there's that Team Dirt. That's Dad's indoors riding trainers. They must be trying to poach you, being a dad.
That's it. I think a lot of the Zwift racers are dads, if you like, because you know, it's the only training that we can get in, you know. But I think at that time I was racing for Innovation, who the chap Kyle, the boss of Innovation, has always been really good to myself and Steve, who was also a member of the team, you know. And it was a hard decision to leave him, because you know, Kyle was great and really good in the races, real good input, being an ex-BMXer himself. You know, he's got big watts, like, and he's really knows the racecraft, you know. So he was great to have as a DS as well. But it was just a great opportunity that, you know, Canyon offered, and to be the first recognised as one of the big teams, you know, in riding for Canyon. It was kind of something you couldn't really turn down, really. So
absolutely
exciting to see where it goes, you know.
And jumping back to the nationals, white shorts, black shorts. What kind of guy are you? I know in game it's white, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it.
Or
yeah,
white.
Yeah.
What would you reckon in real life?
I think white.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Adam Blythe fan then.
Yeah, that's it. I guess I'm used to seeing it, the stripes in the screen now, and it just.
Have you got any in real life kit made?
Yeah. It arrived not too long ago actually. Yeah, so that was pretty cool and nice for that to come. Like, yeah, I'll have to frame that up and put it on the wall. Yeah.
No, might win it again.
Well, yeah, that's the goal.
That's got to be the goal.
Yeah, I'd like to win it outright properly. I've got experience in racing in those live events now. Yeah. So, I've learned from some mistakes I've made in the past. So, I know what's required to win an event like that. Yeah. So, we'll just have to see what happens. Each year it's getting harder and harder. Each year it's attracting better and better riders.
Yeah.
It's.
I say we've our Rowan King team. We've got better riders involved this year. But we're finishing lower in the rankings in the racing, which tells you obviously the standards just skyrocketing.
Right. Yeah, especially this time last year, I really noticed the level had really gone up. And I was just coming back from fitness, and struggling, and I was like, flipping heck. There's 10, 15 top boys here now, which are all, bossing it.
Absolutely. But what's amazing, I think, is it's not the best cyclists that are winning necessarily. It's the best Zwifters.
Yeah, that's right.
That's what right. I think is great.
Yeah, it takes you need to learn the game. It's not a case of just rocking up and racing. Which is what's happened in the past. If you like, you've got to be prepared to do the races, put the time in, understand how the game works, how to draft. And that's what it's all about. I can remember jumping into a ride with some of the Canyon boys, and they were doing a little promo video where they invited a few Swifters along, so I jumped on. And I can just remember watching who was it? It was Harry Tanfield, that's right. He was off the front, and he was like putting in some big watts, and I was looking at the stream back, and he was sweating, and he was proper heart rate was super high. I remember at the time I was just sat on his wheel, just cruising, no problem, and it was his first time on Zwift, so it's just it does take a bit of practice, it's just learning that draft,
exactly.
And when to put your effort down and when to reserve it,
So you and the team are probably some of the sharpest on Zwift. Yeah. What would be your tips then for our listeners? Any golden nuggets of advice you can share?
For being good at Zwift?
Yeah, Zwift racing.
Yeah, you just got to have good short power. Your 1 minute, anything up to 5 minute power, is extremely important. My 20-minute power, if you like, is your power to weight is not as big as some of the other boys. I mean, I can do a race, if you like, and average maybe 4.2 watts per kilo across the course of a race, but I'll be there at the end, at the sharp end, because I'm able to sort of follow those short attacks and to draft, whereas a lot of the other boys, they're pushing up 5 watts, 6 watts per kilo for 20 minutes.
Crazy numbers.
Like flipping heck. So you really got to concentrate on your short power, and your natural ability of just being able to sprint, really. You can train your sprint, and there's some good tools on Zwift where you can help train your sprint, and that's helped me in real life, massively. But it's just a case of practice, really, jumping into a few races, learning how to draft, and just sort of building it up that way.
So most of that advice there is kind of physical. On the tactical side of things, I mentioned a little bit about drafting. Specifically, what are we talking about there? Not allowing that 5 meter gap to.
That's it. Yeah, I think it's 5 meters, isn't it? Yeah. So the moment the little thing on screen will pop up, 3 meter gap, 5 meter gap. Then you've got to put a bit of effort just to get back onto the wheel, and just to try and conserve some of the energy. Then when you're sat in that draft, try and pedal as easy as you can, so you get a little feel on how
you can
to draft.
Feel it, can't you? I know when that gap stops going, a 1 meter, 2 meter, 3 meter, it's a case of react quick. I always think don't let it go to 4 meters. As soon as you see it go in, jump on it quick and close that gap, get back in that bubble.
Because the moment it goes to 1-2 seconds, the power of the pack's so fast that it's one hell of an effort, really, just to close a 5 second gap. It's a 30 second max effort just to close it. which, in real life racing would be a bit easier than that, but you can't let that gap go, or you're in trouble.
No, exactly.
When a climb is arriving, you've got to make sure you're at the front. Look,
positioning,
positioning is so important. Look, one of the races, don't often make this mistake, but one of the races I was at the back at the start of a climb, and the next thing, look, there was a split in the group. Look, game over. Look, I'm in the second group. Look, that's it. Goodbye. There are 20 seconds up the road. That gap only just goes out. So
And you obviously do a lot on Zwift. Just racing?
Just a bit of everything, really. There'll be racing, just taking it easy, and then I'll do some workouts then. So for me, look, what's one of the main thing that wins your bike race at the end of the day, isn't it? Being able to sprint at the end,
especially if you're the sprinter.
So depending on what time of year it is and what's coming up in the season will depend on what sort of training I do. Certainly this time of year I will be looking to start doing some more sprint training. I think the 1 minute power to 5 minute power takes care of itself in some of the races. Like, when you race up Box Hill, that's a 5 minute effort. People
will be thinking 5 minutes was 10 minutes for me.
That's it.
You know what I mean? So you're trained. Do you create your own workouts and implement them on Zwift, or is it free riding, or do you follow the structured workouts?
I just tend to just pick up some of the Zwift workouts. And
got a favourite one?
Crit sprint. It's pretty. So ramps up from 40 seconds, and then after 25 seconds it goes up again, and the last 10 seconds is a hard effort. And that's real tough. It's 10 sprints in total. After the first 4, you're wanting to give up, and you'd be giving up on the road. But you just keep going, and then at the end of it, you're like, I'm sort of glad I did that now, and that's when you get your benefits then. So that's a good one. And there's a few other good sprint ones. Depends on what time of year it is, maybe if I want to keep things ticking over, I might do a few TT efforts, not necessarily in season, but it all depends on what your training is, isn't it?
Exactly.
If you're TT training, it'd be completely different training to crit racing, wouldn't it? So it's all about tailoring that effort and being specific in your training. Really.
Do you coach yourself?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
You into it?
Into
like the science and the theory behind it and the thinking?
I use sort of training peaks, and I look to sort of try and be as fresh as I can when a big race comes up. So and obviously I'm quite clued up on my nutrition. Nutrition is extremely important too. So and done quite a bit of research on certain good foods to eat and all that sort of thing, and how to tailor your efforts so you arrive in a peak form in a key event.
Sure.
So a lot of all my stuff self-coached.
And also know the importance of weight in Zwift.
That's right.
Staying trim and lean.
That's it. I can remember I went on a holiday last summer, and I'm at that age now where you go on an all-inclusive, and next thing you're 8 kg heavier, and it's like flipping heck.
That's a good holiday.
That's it. And whereas before I could eat what I want, it'd be no problem. Like I wouldn't be putting on the weight, but now I got to watch it a little bit, and particularly if you're Swift racing, isn't it? It's all about your watts per kilo, that's it.
And favourite world on Zwift? Have you got a favourite course?
I guess Watopia is probably the favourite world. Favourite course, I like one of the Watopia. I think it's the forward KOM. That's all right. It finishes on the downhill with the sprint. So that's probably my favourite sprint, if you like. It's all the worlds are different, and they all pose their different challenges, and it's just nice to have such a good mix of courses to race on, really.
Yeah, definitely. Do you think there's a course that suits Zwifters more than road riders, kind of more so? Is there any courses that are kind of more technical, I guess? Or do you think they're all on a par?
It's difficult. Obviously, you've got your different efforts within the certain courses,
different types of riders.
If it's a hilly course, look, anything over 5 minutes, I know I'm going to be struggling. I won't be able to keep up with the top boys. But anything, 5 minutes or less, I can just about hang on, maybe, possibly.
I think it's like maybe Yorkshire. There's a lot of, it's very undulating. There's lots of opportunities to be caught out, maybe.
Yeah,
I
definitely.
don't know. I think off the top of my head.
There's 3 minute efforts in Yorkshire, and that's probably the max, isn't it? But then there's lots of little kickers, isn't there?
Yeah.
So you're always like on it and then rest, on it and rest.
Yeah.
So that course, that's gonna favour someone who's able to repeat those efforts, if you like, isn't it? With the flatter courses, you can sit in a little bit more and it'd be more of a continuous effort. So it depends on what sort of rider you are, really, doesn't it?
And esports, Zwift have been quite vocal and they want to take esports to the top. Worlds, Olympics, the Worlds is happening this year. How do you see your esports career panning out?
Well, I'm 35 now, so it's maybe a downward slope from here. We'll see. We'll have to see what happens.
I don't know.
Maybe I've got a couple of years left in me. To race on that world championship would be certainly a goal of mine. And that would be a great event to qualify in and to do well in.
Yeah.
So to win something like that would be massive, really, wouldn't it? Particularly as the UCI have come in and sanctioned the event. And this is probably the best chance for me to do something in it. Because I know that the year after, it's just going to attract even better riders.
Exactly.
And but we'll just have to see where it takes us. At the minute, it's just it's quite exciting as to where it's going, and to get a Worlds sanctioned by UCI, that's just huge, really. And that's come about really fast. The big goal, could it be in the Olympics? Could it be in stadiums where you've got thousands of people watching people on a turbo? Who knows? You don't know, do you?
Yeah, exactly. Do you reckon it would be summer or winter Olympics?
It's difficult to say, really, isn't it? Yeah. Swift seasons sort of January to April. That's what I'd really say is the proper Swift season. A little bit over the winter, isn't it? In the summer, it calms down a little bit. So
then I wonder, because the rest of cycling is in the Summer Olympics, would it follow suit because of that?
Yeah,
or would it be an anomaly and go in the winter?
Yeah, that's it.
I don't know. Yeah, it is an interesting one. Obviously, the Nationals are first.
Yeah.
Nationals are first, and then I'm not sure if the kind of criteria for reaching the Worlds has been finalised yet.
I don't think so. No. I would have thought, you win your national championships,
you got a space.
Then that's your ticket, if you like. But who knows?
Yeah.
That's the only way.
What about qualifying for the Nationals? That's tough, right? You got big old fields, and
that's right. Yeah.
Anything can happen.
Yeah, that's it. I can remember last year, I think it was the top 10 that qualified.
Yeah.
And then the top 10 went to the live event then. So
where did you qualify?
So it was on Watopia, forward sort of KOM, that sort of downhill sprint at the end, if you like. But it was an hour and a half race. It was a tough race.
Tough, yeah.
I can remember it being a tough race. Yeah, it was a tough one.
Where did you place in that?
Second.
Oh,
yeah, second.
Solidly qualified then.
Yeah. So, and then, the finals then was such a fantastic experience, being showcased live on BT Sport. The final race, was, and to win that sprint was great.
Yeah.
That was excellent. And just the setup, it was such a professional setup. You went into that BT Sport arena and you were like, wow, this is pretty cool. And it was just something nice to be part of, and you can look back and show the family that when you're a bit older, you are.
And just to wrap up, James, your Zwift den, or pain cave, whatever you want to call it, what's it like?
You'll have to come and have a little look.
I'll look after you before I leave.
It's it's in the garage. So I've sort of put down some purpose flooring, so it makes it look nice. I've got 5 or 6 bikes hanging up on the rack.
N+1.
That's it. A couple of turbo trainers set up, the big TV.
Nice. What inch TV?
It's a 50-inch. 50-inch
nice.
TV in
a
there.
Whopper.
Yeah, that's it. And that's it pretty much. Nice. Got some music in there.
Yeah.
And a few pictures of my sporting achievements in there. I think you're in one of the pictures, Matt. I'll have to show you.
In the background somewhere.
Yeah. No, you're in one of them. Yeah, that's it. Just a little pain cave, isn't it? It's nice to make it personal. Luckily, Laura, my wife, just that's my space,
Yeah.
So it's nice to have
The rest of the house is her space.
Yeah, that's
you got
it.
a garage.
That's it.
Lovely. All right, top man. Thanks for your time.
That's it. No problem.
Good luck for the rest of your season.
There we are. Thank you, Matt. Cheers.
Well, there you go. A nice little 25-minute chat with James. Fairly prolific Zwift semi-professional, as he calls himself.
Mate, I love the way that you segued into that and said a feature chat of the pod. I was like, wow, slang. Just mixing it up. Not a podcast, it's the old pod.
Down with the kids, aren't we? Down with the kids.
Mate, we're going to
stay with it.
We're going to be too cool for school soon.
We are.
Well, me and Kristen will be. You'll have to learn, but you'll keep up.
He's trying.
He's trying. So, chat with James. Like a nice little insight into a Zwifter at the top of his game. National champ. He's always there in the top level Zwift races, especially the flat ones. He's got second place in the recent Pro-Am Tour de Zwift series at the moment. Yeah, I like his ambition. He's 35, and he's talking about competing at the highest level. If he can get to the World Championships later this year, the UCI sanctioned World Championships, he's on it. And I think the first version is going to be obviously the only chance I'd probably say for a working man to compete. I think in the second edition next year is going to be the pros are going to be fully engaged, fully locked on, and the standard is just going to skyrocket. So I think that this first year could be a Zwifter that really gets up there.
Yeah, I was intrigued. Well, number one, I caught up when he said, "Oh, I might be past my prime here soon. I'm 35 years old," and I'm like, "Oh, let me talk to you. I didn't have a discussion with you. You're young. You're still young." So one of the things that I just wanted to keep asking and hearing about were all the tips and how different the game and the sport, the esport of cycling is on Zwift, and how intrigued I am on the ins and outs, and how you have to learn basically how to race on this esport platform versus, great, you can sit up on the front as long as you want and you can show that power to weight, but at the end of the day you have to know about the drafting, you have to know about the 1 meter, the 2 meter, the 3 meter. You have to really focus on those really short sprints. I really liked how he spoke about his favorite workout, and it was intriguing to me because just being a Zwifter myself and being in some of the different tours, I have learned the hard way what I feel like are some of the tips and tricks. And when I learn those on my own in a very difficult manner, I almost don't even want to share those with anybody else because I'm like, oh, you can figure it out when you figure it out. So I can see some of this stuff being very secret.
He was definitely a little bit cagey. Fair play. But the tip about being in the draft, it sounds obvious, but being completely on it, looking at those 1 meter, 2 meter gaps when they go, and paying attention to your avatar, the position they're riding in. Obviously, when they're in the tuck position, trying to get aero, that means you're not in the slipstream. And when your avatar is sat upright, that's them relaxing. They're in the slipstream. Those little things are huge. But making sure, it's that concept of marginal gains. Making sure you're in the slipstream for the whole race, unless you're making a move, there's a reason for you not being in the slipstream. But there's plenty more out there, and I think over time we'll be able to tease some more of these specific tips and tricks, a bit of inside knowledge from various Zwifters. But there's definitely more to come in that space, I think. Yeah,
and the positioning into the climb, you have no idea how often I've been positioned in the climb where he spoke about, which is like, when he said, oh yeah, and then you look up and you're 20 seconds back, and then
you're done.
It was like, you're done. And I'm like, oh, so there is no chance. So what I was telling myself, I am done, that is true. So he confirmed that. So I'll have to have a redo next time I don't position myself properly. But, all of a sudden, you're new on Zwift and you see all these feathers pop up and you're like, what is happening? And then 5 seconds later, you decide to hit your feather and it's too late. Like what? And so, again, I think it's fun and it's intriguing, and I don't know. I think even when I got into the road cycling, yeah, I was physically strong, but oh my gosh, did I love learning about tactics, and just the tactical piece of the sport was what kept me in it for so long. And I think that on Zwift, I think of it the same thing. I'm like, this is so tactical. It's cool. Yeah, definitely. And at the end of our chat, I went in and had a look at James's Zwift den.
and he had this little rod kind of reaching out from his desk where his TV was to hold his phone. So that's a nice little contraption which kind of places the Zwift companion app for him, conveniently hovering just a few inches above and slightly in front of his handlebars, which is pretty cool. Plus, in his Zwift den, he had some weights. Now, Kev would have loved this, but yeah, he mentioned off air that he lifts. So, and his normal routine is in 90 minutes, put the kids to bed, and then goes and Zwifts for about an hour, and then does 30 minutes of weights. Shower, protein shake, collapse on the sofa. Probably a familiar routine for many.
Yeah, I think that many people probably like to hear that. That is the norm, and that you can accomplish goals off of a very efficient and effective training plan. And so I think that yet another reason that Zwift has been so awesome for so many people is that we are busy, and most people are busy, and so it provides an opportunity to have it all in your own space.
Absolutely. All right, moving on then, guys. Community story. As always, Kristen, there's shed loads going on within the community, loads of cool stories to share, but we've picked one out this week.
Yeah, obviously worldwide news is, obviously the unfortunate fires that have been happening across Australia. And it's just so unfortunate, the stories, not only about people losing their homes, the recent accidents and things that have happened with some of the firefighters, but even the animals. Some of the images are just they're sad. And so we have a Zwifter named Zane Upton, and he shared with us about how Zwift as a runner and cyclist has really helped him during this time. It hasn't been healthy to go out because of the air quality has been considered hazardous extreme. And so he's been able to not only get indoors, but also because he actually spends a lot of the time running outdoors, he actually has spent more time indoors riding his bike. And so I think that two things is, once again, Zwift has saved the day, meaning whether it's a physical injury or an environment that is not healthy to be exposed to, or, seasonally, whatever the reason is, Zwift has provided such a great platform for so many different reasons. And so we're happy that Zane Upton is part of our community, and we're so thankful that Zwift could help him continue to work out and still continue to go after his goals.
It's incredible. I'm obviously here in Australia. A few of the stages have gone through the fire-affected landscape, and it's surreal because you think about when you ride through these areas that are just blackened from the fires. It's just silence, because you spoke briefly on the animals that have been affected. I mean, there's millions and millions of animals that have been affected, and these forests and these trees that we ride through, they're just silent. There's no animals, there's no birds, there's no nothing, there's no, and you probably don't even think about it while you're every day walking through the forest or whatever. The background noise is your animals, it's just nature, and it's a background noise. But you go through these fire affected places and it's just silence. It's quite eerie. And then, you'll see the odd house that's just gutted. It looks like it's been hit by a tidal wave. You wonder what it looks like for a house to be burnt. I mean, it's just destructive, because everything just buckles and warps and bends and shifts. So it sort of bulges. It's not just a pile of ash, and it just doesn't just disappear. It's just this buckled, twisted metal that you see. It's it's very surreal. It's really hard to explain, and it's very sad, obviously.
Wow, powerful words there, Greg.
And the air quality during the tour down under, is that everything's okay in the area? Yeah,
no, we're fine here now that the fires have stopped, and it's typically, it was funny. I woke up on New Year's Day in New Zealand, and our sky was just this dark but orangey colour with the sun coming through, and I worked out pretty quickly what it was, but there was quite a bit of a mayhem going on. People didn't know what was going on. So there was so much ash, it had drifted over from Australia, and it was covering the South Island of New Zealand, and it was just, and you could actually taste a little bit the smoke in the air from in New Zealand. So that just shows you how massive these fires are. It's it's just hard to comprehend.
Yeah, unbelievable. Nature. Well, yeah, force to be reckoned with. Frightening. Yeah, well, powerful words. Moving on then, guys. Terminology. Greg, are you ready, mate? I've got a bit of lingo for you.
Righto, hit me with some lingo. Is it as cool as the pod? Is it as cool as the pod?
Cool as the pod. Well, you can be the judge of that.
Righto.
All right then. Kristen, you got the timer. Let us know when you're ready.
All right, let's get ready here. I want to make sure that Greg gets the fire, the competitiveness.
You're still a little bit upset that I got you, aren't you, Kristen?
Yeah,
Bag of spanners, mate.
I'm going to take the high road. I still hear about that episode, just so you know, by friends. So it's not that we're known for the Zwift Power Up podcast anymore. It's that we're known for the bag of spanners. So congratulations on getting that one.
Well, given what bag of spanners means, that's not a good nickname for us, is it? We're going to have to check that.
Okay.
Oh,
Okay.
right.
Well, here we go. I'm ready. Greg, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Here we go.
All
I'm
right,
starting
Greg.
now.
Your term is pizza slices in your Zwift ride report.
Ah, yes. Okay, so this is the little icon at the top of the screen after you've completed your ride, and what it represents is in a food situation how many calories you've actually expended during that ride. So if you've had a big ride, you might have 3 or 4 pizza slices. If you've had an easy ride, it might only be half a pizza slice.
Good job. 23 seconds. We have some time. That was great. I was expecting an answer. I was expecting an answer like, those are how many pieces of pizza I can eat after each of my rides.
But it is a representation of calories. But the only thing I don't know is what's a pizza slice? How many calories exactly is one pizza slice?
Well, if you're in America, it's a lot.
Yeah, if you're in Italy, it's a nice little thin crust.
If you're in Italy, one piece in America is a whole pizza in Italy. So
yeah. Well, I've just looked that up. As you started describing it, Greg, every pizza slice is worth 285 calories.
Oh.
So yeah,
nice.
Obviously, roughly, but that's what Zwift use. So yeah,
is that on a gluten-free base?
Cauliflower crust.
Yeah, gluten-free, vegan, the lot.
Okay, that's all right then.
Yeah. And to wrap up, guys, we've got a question in from Chrissy. So, Chrissy, thanks for your question. And guys, listeners, if you've got some a burning question you want to ask any of us, the Zwift Facebook forums, I guess any of our social media, fire a question over. We will pick it up and we will get it answered for you. So, Chrissy's question reads, "Hi guys, my question is to do with setting a goal and keeping motivated. I really enjoyed Greg's chat with Andre last episode, and it got me thinking, I don't really have a goal in cycling or on Zwift. I've been happy just riding in real life and on Zwift for fitness. However, now I feel like I want to take the next step, but I don't know what that next step is. Any thoughts on how to set yourself a goal, as I feel I really need something to motivate myself? Any examples or suggestions would be awesome. Thanks, Chrissy." So, tricky one. And my whole thing was setting a goal. I've always used this kind of the acronym. It's kind of applied in business quite a lot. Kind of a SMART acronym. So whatever you decide your goal to be, whether it does end up being riding a certain number of times per week, or cycling for a certain number of hours, or setting a new PB over a certain distance, up a climb, a Strava segment, whatever it is, try and be smart with that goal. So specific, state what you want to achieve. Really spell it out and be specific. Is it a race? Is it an event? What is it? Measurable. Try and quantify that goal in some way. So is it going to be a time, distance, position, whatever it is. Make your goal attainable. So are you actually able to achieve your goal, or is this just, are you able to get in the event you want to target first off? It's got to be realistic. That kind of goes without saying, otherwise you're going to lose motivation if your goal isn't realistic. We can't all win the Tour de France. That's just not possible. So your goal should be relevant and linked to what you do. And timely as well. Put a time frame on your goal to keep yourself accountable. Otherwise, time just goes and you'll defer achieving it.
Yeah, and to add on to what you said, Matt, I think that really, when I look at Chrissy and her question, and she enjoys riding outdoors as well as on Zwift, I would take it a step further and say, okay, well, you have a community on Zwift that you're riding with right now, and depending on the weather that you have and the events that are around you and that are realistic, depending on the time you have, the travel that you want to put on yourself, and an easy goal is to start on Zwift platform and to choose an event and to train up to that event to be your best. You're amongst community, and it's a comfortable place to begin. And as you see success and as you see your fitness increasing, you can also look at some of the friends that you have in your community. Maybe you have a riding group that you're with, and really be listening on what kind of events are people around you in your community doing outdoors as well. I find that it really helps me keep accountable to the goals when I am saying, hey, I'm in on that event as well. And so then you have something fun to train with. You have purpose when you're going outside to train, as well as on Zwift. You can actually do some meetups. You can make it super, super fun. And so goals are always fun when you have others that are joining in. And also it helps, I think, all of us keep accountable, because it just takes a couple days where you're not motivated to think, I think I'll reset my goal. So once you're in with other friends, then I feel like it's harder to back away from that.
And a very common goal is, everyone talks about FTP, increasing your FTP. That's great. But how about increasing your 1 minute power or your sprinting? It's super specific, and you should see if you've never done any sprinting before, you start doing a couple of sprints a few times a week. You will see that nudge up. So it's quite motivating as well.
Yeah, that moves a lot faster than your FTP, doesn't it? Yeah. It's but no, goals they hold you accountable, don't they? And I think that's the key, and they can be super simple. Yeah, like you said, it can be okay for these next 2 weeks. I'm going to try and do 3 sets of sprints. I mean, that's a goal. Like every time you go out and ride, there is something that's motivating you behind it. I mean, it could be just a simple thing of like, when I jump on the scales, I want to see that shift 100 grams or 200 grams, just the motivation for some weight loss, or the health benefits that you do gain from exercise, which are, obviously widely published now and very well recognized. But let's, I think they don't have to be super long term, do they? Because I think they can become a little disheartening. That, okay, my event's in 12 months. It's like, hang on, just set something right here for next week. What we actually want to achieve. Let's set something for this ride, and you sort of bring it back closer to you, so that you become accountable and they become very achievable. There you
go, Chrissy. So whatever your goal's going to be, write it down. Give yourself a time frame. Commit to it, and good luck. Right, that wraps up another pod, guys. Episode 44.
Pod.
Yeah, that's a good one. Pod. Greg, you can go put a shirt on now.
Yeah, I can get dressed now. I just got out of bed. Might have a coffee, go and start my day. I might go into just jump on Zwift and just crank out a couple of 1,000 watts, mate.
Good job. Well, enjoy the sun anyway, Greg. Make the most of it.
Right on.
Speak to you soon, guys. Cheers, Kristen.
Cheers. See ya.
See you guys.